Venice. It's been over 2 years now since the incident, you know, back in Melbourne at Optus Stadium.
It's been outpointed a number of times tonight, but that was a good win.
Yeah, he did it well. I reckon if McDonald had his time again, he would have probably played the ruckman role there, wouldn't he?
Gee, that was an interesting collision, that, I tell you what.
Venables.
Venables,
yeah,
it is, and hit his head on the ground as well as on the hip of the player in the air, I reckon. So bang there, and then on the ground. Oh.
What are your recollections now when you look back on it from that night? Is it all pretty clear?
Nah, not really. Like, I don't really remember it. I don't remember it at all. All I remember is, like, because I've seen so many videos and that of it, you know, it kind of like, you can see it from that. But at the time, and like, until I didn't see anything, I knew nothing. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Did it take you a while to have the courage to look at it again? No, not really. I was straight into it. I've been like pretty open to it, eh? Like, just.
I remember your Telstra post. That was pretty good.
Yeah, like I've tried to make it a bit lighthearted, you know, like. It is what it is.
We'll talk about the history then. Is that the first concussion you've ever had?
I've technically had, including that, 3, I think, but real light, like not sure, borderline. You know what I mean? Like, but that was like my first proper head knock where I'm like, I was knocked out, or like I was, like, you know what I mean? Like I've been hit in the head a couple of times, and I've technically had concussion, but nothing major. So yeah. My first one, yeah.
Talk to me about the symptoms you were showcasing kind of the weeks after that incident, and whether they're the same symptoms now that you're currently experiencing today. Yeah,
so mate, I just had headaches all day, 24/7 for months and months. I had this like pain, always have this like pressure through the front of my head. It's still there now, and I got, between headaches and migraines, man, every day, constantly for, I reckon, 16 months. The migraines went away after like a year, I think, but they were coming on and off, but the headaches every single day. Still get them every now and then, but I've just got like, this pressure in my head that's still there today.
Are there certain factors that attribute that more so and brings it on, like sunlight, excessive exercise, or it's just randomly pops up into having that sore feeling in the head?
Yeah, mate, because it's been for so long, I've tried to find different patterns in it, but I just, there's no patterns, it's all random. I know definitely if I don't do anything and I just sit around, which I've kind of struggled with the past year because of all these quarantines and lockdowns and all that type of stuff. If I just sit there and don't do much, it's not good, eh? Like, yeah. So it's pretty crazy with that. That's definitely a pattern that I've noticed. So I've always got to get up and just go for a walk or do some exercise and that, which, just exposing myself to that. And it's good, you know, cardio work actually does, that was a main part of, the rehab.
That's trippy. I would have thought it'd be the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Like sitting there, dark room, doing nothing, and it doesn't bring it on.
So I haven't really had much. A lot of people talk about like bright lights, sunlight, all that type of stuff. Like, I did like at the start, but I feel like you got to expose yourself to it all, and that's just kind of how I went about it. I just, like, I'd have to wear sunglasses and that, but I just put myself out there and kind of adapted to it. But yeah, you're not wrong.
So what's been the most difficult period when you reflect back over the last 2 years?
There's been a lot. Man, last year I remember, there's been a couple of times, man. There was a couple of times where I went back and did pre-season in 2019, 2020, and I was just having no sleep, migraines like every day, and it just like compounded on everything. And the fact that I was training as well, which I wanted to, because I just felt like it was good for my mental state as well. Like it's hard when something's so debilitating for so long and you keep putting things off because of it and you can't get out there and do something. It adds on worse, if that makes sense. So like I kind of felt like if I didn't do something, I'd kind of let life defeat me. So I just kept trying to put myself out there, but through that whole time, man, I wasn't sleeping at all, and the whole sleep compounded on everything else. So then like fatigue issues, like all I'd do, I'd come to the club, I'd train, I'd speak to Hickmont before, Agent Hickmont, he knew everything. I was very open and honest with him. He'd just be like, mate, like, you've done your training, just go home, don't worry about meetings. And I'd go home and I'd just sleep. But then when I went back to Melbourne after that, with the whole quarantine and everything kind of just hit me at once. It's kind of, man, I've had like waves of different, like I'd feel all right and then I'd have waves where it's just no good.
Over weeks, months?
Yeah, man, they'd change. And then the whole like quarantine thing, like I was just stuck at home, migraines, headaches, like I just couldn't get out of bed. And every time I'd get out of bed, it'd be like worse, and that kind of sleep gave me peace. But then like when I kept going back to sleep, and I'd wake up again, it'd be a bit worse. So man, it was just a couple stages there where I was like, wow, like things are just getting pretty bad. But yeah, I got through them, and like I just kept at it and just kept getting up every day and trying to do things to help out. But yeah.
You're still participating in gym sessions and training today. So how does your load compare to the rest of the squad and what their programs are looking like right now?
Yeah, now I'm able to do everything that everyone else is doing, besides the contact work. So I've built myself up to a stage, I reckon since October last year, where I've just kept building, and I'm at the stage now, you know, where like I'm doing everything and I'm not pulling up any worse than I feel already. Which is the frustrating thing. Like I'm able to do so much stuff, but there's just these feelings and everything that I have in my head, and that just doesn't go away, but it's not getting worse when I train, which is confusing, and that's kind of what I guess I struggle with as well.
Are you constantly trying to push barriers that are set out there to a degree from you know, medical advice, screenings and whatnot?
Mate, of course, yeah. Like, as I said before, I don't want like it to defeat my day, and like if I'm not being able to do something, I'll keep trying, man. You got to, like, you can't just give up on it, you know. But you got to be smart in the same sense, where yeah, I'm like that's what I've tried to do this whole time, is keep trying to do stuff. Sometimes I can't do it, and like I accept it. I don't go too much. Like it's not. I find a good balance, you know what I mean. But that's why I'm able to do everything now, because we've kept going at it. It's been controlled, which is the main thing. But yeah.
So you've been put on the inactive list now, as we're speaking for season 2021. But I mean, what's the last 2 years? What's it kind of done to your mindset in terms of, you've got that definitive answer now that there is no footy for this year, but you've probably started, you know, 2020 pre-seasons and large chunks thinking I'm a chance or what will happen. How's that been from the mindset, not really knowing, trying to push for something that you think is just over the horizon, but then it's not there? What kind of toll has that had on you?
Mate, that's a good question. Mate, I was feeling, so each day, like I'm feeling better, you know what I mean? Like, so then it got to a point last year where I spoke to the club, and we had like a training block where I was like, let's try get through this, and then if it works, then we'll have a shot at coming back. And I did that, and like, it got to a point where it's like, man, like I can really see myself playing 2021, and we'll get into a stage where, yeah, it was a realistic chance. And that's what I mean, the whole like, I'm doing everything that everyone else is doing, and it's just waiting for that day that these lingering symptoms just go. So it's, as I said before as well, it's like a wave of emotions at the same time, where it's like, it's so hard to get yourself up for something every day, you know, like it's a struggle every day, living with these like debilitating symptoms. Like it's hard, but that's why like I've just kind of I've used getting back as like a bit of like something to work for, so you can get yourself up for that.
The motivation.
Motivation, yeah, that's the one. But yeah, man, it's tough, and I feel like it's built resilience, and I've learned so much about myself throughout this whole thing that you know, like I feel like everything happens for a reason, and if this is what I was meant to go through to learn and self-develop, I guess, and to find out about myself, and you know, if this is going to help me for the rest of my life, then I'm happy to go through it, and you know what I mean? Like it's going to help me, and I'm going to always fall back on the things that I went through, and I feel like, yeah, mate, the things I've learned about myself is pretty crazy, and things that I've been able to push through and live with every day. Like, you don't really realise it until you reflect on it.
It's amazing. Like, you always get a true test of yourself through adversity, and it's an unbelievable roller coaster of emotions that you've just been on. You've gone from a 20-year-old winning a flag and being on the cusp of this AFL trajectory, and then going into some, obviously, so much uncertainty in some pretty dark places. So how have you yourself kind of, you've articulated that you'll try and push through the days and do as much activity as your body and your mind lets you. What are some other ways that you've used as a coping mechanism to sort of help you through, the dark, depressive kind of states that you've been through over the past 24 months?
Yeah, well, mate, I was 20 when this happened. I went from 6 months before that we won a flag, and I was as happy as can be, you know what I mean? Like, at the top, and then this happened, and my life genuinely changed in a split second, and like I couldn't prepare for it, you know what I mean? Like, it just happened. It's kind of, I've had to go with the flow, you know. Like, it's been hard. Like, I feel like when they say, when you go through hell, don't stop, just keep going, and that's what I've been doing this whole time, man. Like, I've hit rock bottom a couple of times, and yeah, I wouldn't say that I've like had depression, but I've definitely had so many days where I've been depressed and like so down, and I just feel like every day, like, I just try and get up, get going, keep, you know what I mean, and keep building on the next day, because that's all you can do, you know. You can't keep going back to poor me. Like, I've always felt like that's my thing. Like, let's make something out of this, and let's build character, build resilience. Like, just don't stop.
One of the reasons you wanted to speak, Venice, because you've been silent for this 2 years, and when we were talking, you said you really wanted to kind of open up and get the message out there. And I guess it was to help some people that are a bit too afraid in a totally different circumstance, but similar, going through their own internal battles. So talk to us a bit about what the motivation was to want to try and help people that are in similar type boats. Yeah,
for sure. Mate, from what I've learned about this whole thing, whether you had traumatic brain injury like I've had, or whether something else has happened in your life, you're gonna go through experiences, and you think that you're the only one. Like, it's so, like, mate, I've thought about it all the time, where it's like, am I the only one that's going through this, you know what I mean? But then you speak to someone else, and you get a bit of motivation from them, and it's like, do you know what, like, let's make something of this, where if I can help someone else that's going through mental health illness, or they've had a traumatic brain injury like I've had myself, it's okay to be not okay, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta be open and honest with people, and that's the thing that I've learned along the way. Like, there's times where it's just natural that you bottle it to yourself, but then it's like, well, why don't you just be open and go find someone that you trust and you can speak to, because you feel so much better about it. And like, when someone else understands, like, when I come to the club every day, like, I don't have to say to Tommy Cole, like, mate, I've had a bad night, you know what I mean? He just, like, because I've spoken to him along the way, he understands, you know what I mean? And that's good. Like, I can just come in, look at each other. He's like, yeah, like, it is what it is, you know what I mean? Like, but I know that I've spoken to them, and they know what I'm going through, and they can help me through that, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I want to do, is help other people, and use this bad situation that I'm in to make something better of. That's hit the nail on the head, and you've touched on Adrian Hickmott being someone that you can lean on and share this stuff with, and I'm sure Tom Cole's joining a long list of teammates that you're happy to open up and share some sort of stuff with. Especially in your situation, like, you're an 18-year-old, you're a youngster that's come over, and you're so far removed from your loved ones, and to go through this battle sort of on your own to a degree, and not have that family as close as you'd like. How helpful have teammates and the club been to get through this period? Yeah, mate, for sure. Like, I've been on my own for a lot of this as well, which has probably been some of the hardest bit, with my family being back home. And that's another inspiration or motivation to why I want to get back and play footy, because, like, the environment we're in is such a unique environment, where, like, the only thing I can liken it to is like being at school. Like, you rock up every day and you've got a bunch of your mates here, you know what I mean? It's like a big family where you can help each other go through all sorts of stuff, and you know, they've got your back. And that's another thing why I've always tried to get to the club, when even at my darkest days, and the days that I just couldn't get out of bed, and I'd I just want to get up and get the training and see the boys, you know what I mean? Like that social aspect that like I've missed out on for so long as well. So yeah, mate, I've got no complaints at all. That's why I've kept trying to get back, because I just love being around the club and all of that.
So there was never a thought really to pack this all in and to say, look, it's a coping mechanism to be able to train and work towards something. But at the same time, let's say in a perfect world, in a perfect situation, you get the head right and it's all great, it's all groovy. And it's like, this is exactly what I want. I wanted to get back to where it was. Would there ever be that kind of lingering feeling of like, if I get hit again, do I go through this 2-year battle that no one will understand how tough it is, but besides you that's been through it? Was there any ever thought to go down the path of, let's just get out of contact sport?
No, mate, I've thought about it many times. 100%, mate. Like, I've sat there and I've just given up. I gave up a couple of times last year in 2020 where I just thought, no, I'm done with this. I'd go for a run and I'd be in like that much pain. I'd just stop running and I'd be like, why am I doing this to myself? But it wasn't until, well, mate, you got to understand, like, so I've grown up my whole life wanting to play AFL footy, and I've got all these sacrifices that I've had to make. As you said before, I've moved away from my family. I'm young, and when you get the opportunity to play and you've won a flag, you know what I mean? Like, and then this has happened. It's hard to let it go, you know what I mean? Because I've spent so much of my life trying to get there, and I've finally got there, and I hadn't made it yet, but like I was on my way. And then I just want to be, mate, if I can't play anymore, I want to make sure that when I'm 28 or 29 or 30 and I'm working somewhere, hopefully, and I'm having a rough day, I don't want to sit there and be like, I wish I didn't give my all to get back, and I wish I tried everything, you know what I mean? And I wish I pushed through things, or I just wish I made every stone unturned, you know what I mean? So I can be content with the decision that I've made. So if I get back, mate, like, I'll be wrapped. But I also know if I don't, I'm trying everything possible, and the club's been with me the whole way. So whatever happens, happens, and I feel like everything happens for a reason. But I'm going to find out either way.
Yeah, it'd be hard to let go of a sport that you're one of the best in the world at 20 when you really reflect on it. So I understand that. How do you go watching games now? Like, how do you go from a sideline watching and the itchiness of wanting to get out there? Like, you and I have spoken that you were played out of position in 2018 as a high half forward, and it's like, he's so good, we can't play in midfield, there's not enough room here, he'll get his chance. And now we're short midfield engine room, and you just kind of know that this would have been your time to shine. How do you kind of go just looking on and being, oh, geez, I love footy and I love the boys, but this is hard to watch not being out there right now? Yeah,
mate, it's hard. As you said, like, when I was playing, when I was younger, I just played the position that Simo wanted me to play, and if that's that sacrificial half-forward role where you don't get the footy, like, I was happy to play that, and I always knew that my time would come to play midfield, and now it's come, and I'm not there, you know. Like, it's hard, but oh well, like, it is what it is. Like, footy's a lot easier from the sidelines.
So what's the next step then, Venables? I mean, there was going to be a medical hearing in Melbourne that's now been adjourned with what they're going through as a city. For fans out there wanting to know, you know, half the reason you'd have fans coming up to you wanting to know what happened and what the next step is. Do you even really know that right now and what the plan is going to be?
Yeah, so I need to go speak to the AFL. We have a medical hearing that I'm going to, and that's 3 independent neurologists that will assess me, and hopefully they can determine a decision for me, you know, and whether they tell me that I can play or whether they tell me I can't play, we'll have a decision then. But because of COVID, it got cancelled, so that was, yeah, we've had a long time to get that done. But it just kept getting pushed back, and now we're not sure when that's going to happen. But when that does, we'll know more, I guess. But in the meantime, all I'm focusing on is getting myself symptom-free and doing my exercises that I have to do every day to get that right, and I'll leave the rest up to their hands. As I said, I'm making sure that I'm doing everything possible to get back, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm pretty content with the fact that I've tried everything.
Venables, I'm absolutely wrapped and think it's pretty brave of you to come out and just talk about it openly after so long of shelving it. So appreciate your time and having a yarn with us and kind of filling everyone in of where you're currently at. Yeah. And hopefully you're out there dominating, chopping it up like you know you will be.
No dramas, mate. If I can help anyone out there that's going through a rough time, that's what I want to do, and I want to make something of this. And so yeah, that's kind of my meaning to speak out. And you know, I'm at the stage now where I'm able to. So it's good.